Pam, Nan, and Barb who put it together to create an organization that would support one of the school district's referendum. The people who had children in the school had organizations that were active, but they knew lots of people who no longer had children in the schools, who were often retired, but who really did support public education. And that's the origin of GRUMPS.
Well, our background had been in advocacy. Nan and I were together at the Wisconsin Council on Children and Families, which was a nonprofit advocacy agency for children. And we just wanted to sort of be able to get people activated, I think get them going on issues without a lot of difficult, involvement. So that's kind of got us started saying we can do this without creating a difficult organization.
Yeah, we didn't want a whole lot of structure. We didn't want a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. We didn't want fees or anything like that. So we just did it all by email. I think by word of mouth, talking to our friends, we got people to join us and work hard for that referendum, which, we lost. But it got us started, it got us a group going.
It was a borrowing referendum, and it had it was, I think, close to $30 million borrowing, and there were a number of pieces, but one of it was to build an additional school to relieve overcrowding on the west side, and there were a number of other things.
They were going to build 2 schools on the same lot, and that really created a lot of controversy, I think. So there was a lot of controversy that was very difficult to overcome to pass that referendum. At that time, there was also a very vocal anti-group in Madison, which has kind of dissipated since then, so we don't have organized opposition. I guess GRUMPS kind of intimidated when they went away, but they're not there anymore.
They were grandparents too.
Yes, they were.
It was an older group.
Yes, that was quite a night. We were down at Fife's on East Washington, hoping to have a big celebration, and the returns came in, and boy, we didn't have much opportunity to celebrate. And I think it was determined at that time we weren't going to lose another one.
One of the things that is really, I think, critical to understand about the 4 of us is that we all started as young parents at the local school level. So we started became presidents of the parent-teacher organization, or very active in the PTOs, the family organizations. It was very clear that we cared very much about what was happening in the schools. We were in the schools a lot because of the various activities that we were doing. And then I think that was really the catalyst for each one of us then to decide to run for the school board.
We overlapped on the school board.
Yeah.
You came on, and then
Barb came.
So Barb was there,
I
and then I went off. I was there with you a little bit. I was never on it with Carol, but Barb and Nan were.
Yeah,
I think.
we were.
And then,
And I think it really gave us the passion for public education, because we fought so hard for our own elementary schools. Ours was recommended for closing too. We learned the politics, and there's politics around public education, no question about that. We learned that politics, and we developed a passion to support public education that really brought us all together once we were off the board for the most part to continue supporting those schools that we care so much about. And our kids all got a great education, and we knew that, we could see that.
A meeting that the students at East High, or actually it was located at the East Side, but it was students from a number of the high schools who had brought together, who had invited community leaders from a variety of different organizations to talk about some of the needs that children in the high schools needed. And what I remember very clearly is a young man who I think was a senior that year, talking about the fact that schools were critical for some kids, that some kids did not have families or parents who could advocate for them, but that the school often played that role. And that, for me, was an important piece of what my role as a school board member was. He's actually a young man that I had known for a number of years because he was in my daughter's class. But I hadn't known the troubles that he'd gone through and the extent that he relied on administrators and teachers at the high school to get him out of trouble and to keep him, and then to get him on a path where he was going to graduate and maybe go on to college or a two-year institution.
Well, mine isn't deeply philosophical. It's a hockey game. But I remember a hockey game, I will never forget it, in the winter of 1988. And West was playing La Follette. And it was a big game because for once La Follette actually had a decent hockey game. And the teams were at center ice starting to face off, and the superintendent walked in. And I got to tell you, every parent couldn't believe it. Because superintendents don't go to hockey games. Nobody pays attention to some of our sports, unfortunately. They're the minor sports. But he walked in to that hockey game, and every head turned to see him. And it meant so much to those kids on those two teams that he would come to watch them play. Got me to cry.
There is a real arc that the resources make a difference. Dedication from teachers makes a difference. Having time to work with students, but resources make such a difference. And I'm not sure the dedication has gone away, but the time that teachers need to be really successful, that has changed over time, because there are more and more responsibilities that are being added to their portfolios.
I think that as I look at the arc from the time my children started kindergarten to now, and then thinking back to my own experience as a child, that education is far more creative and responsive to the needs of the individual child. We've gotten away from a very rigid educational system where we now have teachers who are really able to look at what their students are and what they need to get to the next level. And we've been refining those steps of how you get a child who may come in at one point to get to the level that they need to be to go on.
Yeah, the thing that I see, and it builds a little bit on what Carol said, I always saw the public school as the fundamental institution in a neighborhood that really was the center of that community. And what I see happening, particularly in our urban areas, probably not as much in the smaller towns and villages, is an erosion of the neighborhood school as fundamental to that community. Vouchers have contributed to that. Busing, certainly, in our urban areas, we bus an awful lot for many different purposes, but that erodes that single institution inside a neighborhood.
We've kind of talked about that. I mean, it's really trying to activate people to go beyond merely thinking in favor of public schools to being more vocal about it. That we feel that there is this element in the state which is trying to undercut public education and provide a certain class of people with options in private or charter schools. And our focus is on getting people to really be very visible and vocal supporters of public education, and to counteract some of the negative comments that get broadcast in various forums. So I think we're trying to help people to have the information they need and to understand where their voice is needed to support public education.
Well, for years, the Bradley Foundation has worked on privatization of many things, and certainly public schools. The voucher program and the charter schools, all of that stuff has been on their agenda. And it's very hard to counter that in many ways. And I think that we're seeing that, that's why we want to build up this knowledge of what the public schools are doing, how well they're doing, and how well they can do. Good they can do when they're adequately funded and money isn't going into private schools and vouchers out of the coffers of the public schools, which is exactly what happens when you set up these state-funded voucher and charter schools. And it's difficult, but you try.
GRUMPS stands for Grandparents United for Madison Public Schools. Now, whoever would like to say a long name like that? And so, when some of us were meeting originally, Ann and Nan, we were just bouncing ideas off each other, and it was the Wisconsin Council on Families and Children, and they had done the Better Badger Baby Bus, that wonderful alliteration. And so just going with the ideas, and one of them said, well, let's think about a name like GRUMPS. And I said, no, we're not. We're positive advocates for public education. GRUMPS is going to send the wrong message. And they say, no. What they're going to do is they're going to remember the name GRUMPS.
Well,
and that's what has happened, is that many people from around the state,
Nan and I had worked together at the Wisconsin Council on Children and Families and started this Better Badger Baby Bus Tour, and knew how successful that name had been because it got a lot of attention. We had a bus that said that. And people would just laugh when they heard it first, and then they'd pay attention to what it was about. And that made a big difference. And I think a little humor, as we say, sometimes helps. And because it's short and it doesn't explain a lot, people will ask them what it is. But because it's short and funny, people pay attention. So that's been kind of fun.
And people really enjoyed telling other people
Oh, right.
they were a grump.
Yeah, right.